welcome to another edition of Burning Issues, the only program that provides a glimpse inside the Wichita Fire Department. I'm Captain Scott Downs. Joining me today is...
I'm Firefighter Billy Chaffin, 17-year veteran with Wichita Fire Department.
And Phil Woodruff, a 9-year veteran with the Wichita Fire Department.
We are assigned to Fire Station 17 and are here to discuss a unique apparatus that is housed at Fire Station 17. Station 17 is located just west of Mays Road on Maple. With the location of Station 17 and the mutual aid agreement between the City of Wichita Fire Department and Sedgwick County Fire District 1 leads us to the topic of this episode of Burning Issues. Adequate water supply. Housed at Station 17 is an apparatus we refer to as a tender. Okay, our first question is, what is a tender? Billy, would you start us off, please?
A tender is a specialized piece of apparatus that is used for shuttling water from one area to areas that don't have fire hydrants or adequate water supply. Our tender one carries 3,000 gallons of water.
What, aside from shuttling water, does a tender, what other functions does it serve?
The primary function of a tender is to provide an adequate water supply for firefighting operations. Our tender, like we said, carries 3,000 gallons of water. An engine, by comparison, carries 600 gallons. A quint, 500. A truck, 300, and a squad, 300. So our tender's primary purpose is to carry large quantity of water without an adequate water supply.
Is the tender staffed 24 hours a day?
Technically, yes. It is cross-staffed with the 2 members on the squad. If an alarm comes out where the tender is needed, the 2 firefighters that are on the squad will take their gear and man the tender and respond to the alarm.
Why is the tender housed at Station 17 and not some other station in the city?
Tender 1 is housed at Station 17 because Station 17 has areas that have limited or no fire hydrants close in that area. Station 17 is also located around the airport. In case an airport emergency comes in, there are no hydrants out on the flight lines. In case an air emergency comes in or a fire, so what? And it's also located on the western edge of the city, closer to Sedgwick County. In case Sedgwick County needs help with the tender, and they also intend to help us on alarms.
So you've kind of touched on the general response area of Tender 1. You also go out into the county?
Yes. It's a mutual aid response. We do respond into the county. And its primary purpose is to provide the city with water. So the Tender 1 can be dispatched anywhere in the city and anywhere requested by the county.
Great. And if we need help from them, they come in?
Absolutely. The mutual aid goes both ways. We can call for them if we need their assistance.
Since Tender 1 responds into the county, do you cross-train with the Sedgwick County Fire Department?
We do. We try to go quarterly with the Sedgwick County Fire Department and go over drafting porta-tank operations and providing an adequate water supply through shuttle operations.
We are fortunate to be located on the west side, close to Station 35, and they come out and we cross-train with them.
So when you talk shuttle operations, what exactly does that mean?
Well, that entails a porta-tank, which is a tank that is carried on the side of the tender. They can be deployed, and the water from the tender can be dumped into that tank. Well, another firefighting apparatus, an engine that would actually be pumping the house fire, for example, would be drafting water out of that tank. Well, that water could eventually go down to nothing. You need another tender to come add more water. So a shuttle operation involves multiple tenders keeping that porta-tank full. So they've dumped their water, they travel to a water source, preferably a hydrant, fill up, and return with their water to dump back into the porta-tank for firefighting purposes.
And if you're in the county where they have limited hydrants also, that could take quite some time.
Yeah.
Dump your water, go to a hydrant, fill up, and come back.
And
so that's why you
sometimes
have
that is the
multiple
case.
tenders.
That's why you have multiple tenders, and that's why you train on it, to try to take some of the time that you can out of the operation.
So can you think of any recent alarms where we've used the tender?
Actually, a few months ago, had a house fire on South Tyler, and the porta tank was used. It was deployed and filled, and an engine drafted out of it. However, we did not use it for an actual shuttle operation. But that is an instance where Tender 1 was involved with fire attack.
We also had an incident where there were some trees and grass on fire at a park over here on the west side, Pawnee Prairie Park. Well, the tender was used to refill the tanks on the squads. Instead of driving away to a fire hydrant, they just went to the tender that was in the parking lot and filled up got their water supply there.
Good. Are there special qualifications required to operate the tender?
You have to have 3 years of service and pass a pumper operator academy. It does require special training. You need to, we call it getting broke in on the tender, get familiar with drafting, operating the porta-tank, and water shuttle operations.
And all engine, pumper, truck drivers on the fire department need to have the Class B non-commercial license, which that's everyone, and there is special training on the tender to be a tender operator.
Tender 1 is a fairly new apparatus to the Wichita Fire Department. What are some of the differences between the new tender and the old tender, the tender that it replaced?
Mainly in the water. The old tender held 2,400 gallons of water, and the new tender holds 3,000. There's some subtle differences. The old tender you could only dump from the back. You had to do it manually. The new tender you can dump from the back and the two sides, and you can do it manually, or you can sit in the cab and hit buttons and do it all from the cab.
Okay.
And you can dump while rolling as well. So instead of having to precisely position your apparatus to dump the water into the tank, you have room for it to adjust to make the shuttle operation quicker.
Okay.
One of the major differences is the new tender is baffled. The old tender wasn't.
What's that mean?
The old tender had to be driven completely full or completely empty. For driving, turning corners, the distribution of the water could make the tender tip side to side. The new tender is baffled, so you can drive it full, half full, empty. It's safer for who's ever driving it and the people around it.
So if there were a tender operation required, from the time you arrive onto the scene to the time you have everything set up and the water dumped, approximately what time frame are we looking at?
5 minutes or less.
And that's dumping 3,000 gallons of water in 5 minutes.
Yes.
Other than transporting large amounts of water, does the tender carry or have any other specialized equipment, or?
It does have a small complement of ladders and a medical bag to respond for first responder issues.
And there are firefighting tools and firefighting hose on the tender. The tender is equipped to pump.
It has a pump?
Has a very good pump, and it's equipped to pump those hose lines when needed.
So Phil, Billy, thanks for joining us today, and thank you for sharing your expertise on Tender 1.
You're welcome. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
That concludes this episode of Burning Issues. Our mission is to provide our community excellent, proactive fire and life safety services through prevention, education, and protection. Remember, the Wichita firefighters are highly trained professionals that are your friends and neighbors. They are Wichita's bravest, and they are somewhere serving you in many ways every day.